Hi, this is Elena Roché and my daily reflections with Da Vinci. I'm using a treatise on painting by the master himself.
Drawing Proportion 2, Rule for a Young Student in Painting. The organ of sight is one of the quickest, and takes in at a single glance an infinite variety of forms, notwithstanding which, it cannot perfectly comprehend more than one object at a time. For example, the reader, at one look over this page, immediately perceives it full of different characters, but he cannot at the same moment distinguish each letter, much less can he comprehend their meaning. He must consider it word by word, and line by line, if he be desirous of forming a just notion of these characters. In like manner, if we wish to ascend to the top of an edifice, we must be content to advance step by step, otherwise we shall never be able to attain. A young man who has a natural inclination to the study of this art, I would advise to act thus. In order to acquire a true notion of the form of things, he must begin by studying the parts which compose them, and not pass to a second till he has well stored his memory, and sufficiently practiced the first. Otherwise he loses his time, and will most certainly protract his studies. And let him remember to acquire accuracy before he attempts quickness.
What does this mean? Here the master insists on the importance of focus and accuracy. This rule emphasizes a structured, step-by-step approach to learning, asserting that the human mind cannot truly master multiple new concepts simultaneously. He suggests sequential learning. The student must break down complex objects into their component parts and study each part individually. There is an analogy here. Just as a reader can see all the letters on the page at once, but must read word by word to understand the meaning, a painter must study forms part by part. Similarly, one must ascend an edifice step by step. I would like to add that Da Vinci is not using this analogy for no reason. In many languages, the word for writing and painting is the same. Traditionally, for thousands of years, people associated writing with images to tell a story and evolved that concept into writing with symbols and then to be writing with letters and words. And the analogy of ascending an edifice step by step is another way of thinking of how you're going to achieve a monumental task without feeling overwhelmed all at once. The last thing Leonardo da Vinci points to here is prioritize accuracy. The most critical advice is to acquire accuracy before attempting quickness. If a student rushes or attempts quickness before they stored the fundamental forms in their memory and perfected their practice, which is accuracy, they will waste time and slow their overall progress. And I have to tell you that I have been watching how the local art schools operate, and I could never understand why they were so rushing their students into go ahead and take a portrait class or a figure drawing class without first requiring them to take simple classes on construction drawing and simple still lifes. Several years go by. The art students are frustrated. They are not achieving the quality of artwork they hoped. They begin to doubt themselves and think that perhaps they have no talent, or perhaps that they are not breaking some kind of rules to become really great and unique artists, where in reality they were not taught from the beginning the right way. They were rushed into more complex subjects before understanding the simplicity of how to start with the plain construction, perspective, proportion, slowly build up their skill to a more complex subject matter, and thus achieving that ascent to the edifice step by step. This is why despite the fact that I'm an award-winning artist and could be doing all kinds of fancy demos of sculptures and portraiture and so on, I insist that my YouTube videos are of those first steps in art that a young art student must take. I am not shying away from the simplicity of the very first art lessons in perspective, how to draw a cube, how to draw a cylinder on its side or standing up vertically. Those are all very first lessons in the Russian academic art curriculum, and they are crucial for the students' progress to more complex subjects and objects to draw and paint. I'm Elena Roché. For me, the words of Leonardo da Vinci aren't just historical quotes. They are a lived reality. I'm an award-winning plein air painter and educator. My journey began in Moscow over 34 years ago. I studied under the direct disciples of the great 19th century Russian masters. Through me, that unbroken chain of classical knowledge, stretching back over 100 years, is passed on to the next generation right here in Sherman Oaks in California. In the United States, this rigorous academic tradition has largely been lost. Most students are taught how to express, how to emote on canvas, but few are taught how to see, think, perceive the world like a master artist. I am changing that. I brought the original Russian academic curriculum with me, and I teach my students ages 10 to 18 exactly as the masters were taught. We go step by step through the laws of nature, space, form, light, and composition, our relationship to the world, and how to best portray what we mean to portray on canvas. But this isn't just for future professional artists. By mastering this method, my students develop a rare level of discipline, spatial intelligence, and a profound way of observing the world that will serve them in any career, from engineering to medicine. I am teaching them the way of the masters, starting young to achieve mastery by adulthood. If you would like to have your child gain this unique, solid foundation, my school is in Sherman Oaks, which is in the greater LA area. You can find the enrollment link in the description below. If you value preserving these nearly lost traditions, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next Daily Reflections with Da Vinci.